They just lost, and I'm just going on my stream here.
Okay.
Heartbreak in Detroit. The Bears fall in miserable fashion to the Lions, allowing 15 points by the offense and then a safety to ice the game in the last 3 minutes and 14 seconds of the game. You're watching the Windy City the Windy City End Zone postgame show. This is Michael Halatek, and joining me momentarily will be Rome, the Bears fan. In fact, there he is right there.
Hooray!
Rome,
Can you hear
Heartbreak
me?
City in Detroit.
How am I doing? Can you hear me? All right. It was a bit of a heartbreak. I was excited because it was competitive again, like against Detroit. I mean, offensively and defensive side of the ball, we had a competitive game, and that's what I'm looking for in every game. I was disappointed because you really want that either stop by the defense or you want the comeback by Justin Fields. Under 30 seconds to go and, getting down the field, and we just can't get it done.
I think Justin Fields answered all of his critics today. If you want to take some positive out of today's game, I mean, his stats weren't earth-shaking, but he had total command of the offense from play one. He ended up with 16 of 23 for only 169 yards and one touchdown. He ran the ball for 104 yards on 18 carries. The Bears totally dominate time of possession. The Detroit only had the ball for 19 minutes in the entire game, 19 minutes and 36 seconds to the Bears 40 minutes and 24 seconds. Yet Detroit was able to put up 29 points on the Bears defense. Considering what the Bears defense had done in the last 6 weeks, ultimately disappointing for me.
Very disappointing. Very disappointing. But I think, again, we made a lot of progress this week. I feel like it's who can survive the biggest mistakes. 3 turnovers by Jared Goff, and they still win the game, which tells you that they still have a potent offense, and their defense still comes up with plays when they need to. And that's really what it comes down to. Their defense came up with a big play. Their offense was able to drive down the field to get them that second touchdown that they needed to win the game.
You can point a lot of fingers at this game. You can point fingers at Matt Eberflus. You can point fingers at Luke Getsy. But the biggest finger you can point to is almost single-handedly Tyler Scott lost this game for the Bears.
Terrible outing. I mean, after the fumble, I expected him to make that catch. He needed to make that catch to make up for the fumble. Even if he caught a diving catch. Did you notice that subtle adjustment he made? Like a step or two before he reached out, like he
slowed
made that
down
adjustment just as he saw it.
He literally, I don't know if he lost the ball in the lights, lost tracking the ball because he took his eyes off of it, but he literally slowed down and the ball sailed over his head. Absolutely inexcusable for a wide receiver. And I guess why are you throwing the ball when the absolute key play of the game? Why do you throw it to your fourth wide receiver on the roster?
Yeah.
Makes no sense to me.
No, that goes back to play calling in my eyes. Unless that was just, a lot of plays will have that go route just to clear out the safety or the corner. And maybe that was one of those where Justin pulled the trigger on it because he saw it. But I don't know. It's one of those things where like we want him to stay aggressive in the game, but on third and long versus take those shots on first and second, I feel like, and really try and move, like stay aggressive in the fourth quarter. Even if
you run the ball there, Rome, and force Detroit into taking their last timeout. Who knows? But unbelievable what Jared Goff was able to do. The Bears. I've got it right here. The Bears
comebacks, man, like 2 big comeback drives.
The Bears kicked a field goal, took almost a 9-minute drive to take a 26-14 lead. There was 4 minutes and 15 seconds left to go in the game. It only took Goff a minute and 16 to get the ball in the end zone.
Yeah.
To cut the lead, and then they literally, I don't think the Bears took more than 12 seconds off the clock in that last drive.
Right.
And after they
gave the ball right back.
And they gave the ball right back, and Goff just chipped away. And I'm sorry, it was absolutely pathetic defense. And I've talked about this. I don't know if I've talked about this on this show yet, because they've actually done pretty decent, being 3-3 since we started the show. The Bears team, they need to learn how to win.
Yeah. And
they haven't yet done that. They need to be able to learn how to win. This is now at least the 4th and maybe the 5th game of this year that they literally could have won. Let's go back and look. They were only down 3 points to Tampa with 2 minutes to play, playing terribly with a very conservative, poor game plan by the offense in week 2. So that's the first one. They lost to Denver, of course. That was incredibly embarrassing when they had the total collapse in the fourth quarter against Denver. They could have beaten the Minnesota Vikings, but again, another absolutely piss poor game plan by Luke Getsy in that game, and that was absolutely terrible. And if it weren't for now this was a fourth quarter collapse by the offense with Tyson Bagent in New Orleans. They could have won that game. And now this game, that makes 5. And I've got a 2-score lead with 4 minutes to go in the game, and they couldn't set the dagger on a Detroit Lions team that desperately tried to give the game to the Bears up until the last 4 minutes.
Yeah, they really did. It's frustrating because we saw this in a lot of games last year as well, where we just couldn't finish it, regardless which side of the ball. And then now we've seen it for how many games again this season. So it's what at some point Justin said, "I'm tired of being close." Like, I don't blame him. It seems like he's close a lot. You got fans that want to pin it all on Justin because he's the easy target. But like you said, Tyler Scott, 2 big plays. I mean, one, he gives the ball to the other team, and on the other one, the missed deep ball. That's the end of the game for all intents and purposes. We're on their side of the field as long as he catches the ball.
Yeah, and they only have 1 timeout left in the 2-minute warning.
Right.
So it's game over. Absolutely game over. And now there's a couple other, one in particular finger point that I haven't finalized yet. And that is when Scott fumbled the ball in the first half and Detroit's driving, literally a pick 6 that hit Jalen Johnson right in the hands between the 3 and the 3, and he would have had a 95-yard touchdown, and he drops the ball, and on the very next play, Detroit scores to tie the game. So,
and to me, those are the plays. Oh, did you lose me? Did I lose you? Are we there? Everything just froze. I think I'm back.
You're back.
Am I back? All right. Those are the plays. If you're elite, you have to make those plays. I mean, that's the bottom line. Elite corners make those plays. We saw the same thing out of Brisker, but I think it was knocked out, kind of knocked out of his hand, like right on the line of scrimmage. Not this game, but a couple of games back, where that would have been a huge turnover, and us possessing the ball, and if not, if that's not a touchdown, then it definitely changes the dynamic of this game. You know what's really interesting to me, and I don't know if you have it on your list or not. Lucas Patrick going out of the game changed the dynamic of the second quarter entirely. There seems like there were communication issues with Feeney, and they just couldn't get on the same page for a while. And I mean, losing a quarter of production in a game is huge. I mean, where could we have been if we would have drove in the second quarter for a touchdown and added one to our lead? There are little situations, and they all mount up to close losses or losses nonetheless, and they come to look like 6 and 32 record for Justin Fields, 6 and 33, whatever it is, and this is what fans focus on in order to make him the demon, and we see games like this, week in and week out across the league. And the quarterback's always to blame. So it's really something to keep in mind when you're reading, NBC Sports or Joe Blow posting whatever articles they do to shit all over the quarterback. Quarterbacks make their share of mistakes, but games like this isn't Justin Fields' fault. A lot of people are gonna drive on the point of him not finishing the game with the 30 seconds left and 2 timeouts. That's fine. I mean, it's going to happen with him at quarterback or anybody else. But I think that the consistency of keeping Justin Fields, we see what he is, we know what he is. It's just having him do these things, the things he does well consistently, and driving him out of town, or driving the coaching staff out of town because of how the games have played out in the first half of this year with Justin, as well as the entirety of last season. I think it's silly to run them out of town because of those results when we actually see a lot of development, a lot of improvement over this just this first half of the season, let alone what he did from the beginning of the season last year to the end. He continues to develop, continues to improve, and is a huge asset to this team.
One of the things Adam Hogue had just finished posting on Twitter that Eberflus and Getsy and even Ryan Poles, said all these things about what they needed to see from Fields in these last 7 games, and then Eberflus and Getsy didn't let him prove it at the end of the game. And that is so true. And Olin Kreutz said he didn't like their choice of offensive plays on their second to last drive of the game. That was the one we just talked about, where the 2 runs that got nothing, that took all of like 7 seconds off the clock, and then the absolutely ridiculous job of Tyler Scott trying to catch a pass that he should have just been able to run underneath. Why he slowed down, I just don't know. But you know what? I didn't write that about Lucas Patrick, but you're absolutely right. And the sad part was that was a pass. The runner was down by contact. Why weren't the whistles blowing and blowing and blowing to make people stop? So, Lucas Patrick's going after the guy that's running down the field. He gets blindsided, by an illegal block. No penalty was called. Now, I don't know if no penalty was called because it was a quote unquote a dead ball, but the action was still going and the foul was committed. And that's what caused him. I'm sure he ended up with back spasms after that. He tried to come back. He came back into the lineup for 2 plays, and then he was out again. And I'm sure it stiffened up during halftime. which is the reason why
They seem to improve. The second half, though, that seemed like their communication was way improved. I don't know if Justin was yelling at Feeney or whatever. There was speculation in social media about Justin was yelling at Feeney because he didn't snap the ball. Because I mean, just being the football layman, just studying it over the past however long of my life, my instinct was snap the ball at one. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care how loud it is, or if you hear me say shit, maybe make sure you get the ball in my hands at 1 second.
Justin Fields was pissed.
Yeah.
At Feeney. Now, another question I have is
another drive killer, wasn't it?
It was. And why wasn't Whitehair in the game?
Yeah.
At that point in time,
that's a good note. Yeah.
Why don't you put Whitehair in the game if we're having that much of a problem with communication between the silent count and the center getting the ball? They had to call timeouts. They had delay of games. It was just absolutely mind-boggling that that they had that problem. So
I feel like what's really important for us in practice is we need to have backup linemen practice with our first team regularly, because we know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like split practices, we don't have starters.
But here's the problem: there's not enough time anymore.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, that's fair. They practice for maybe an hour. They only have one day, I think, maybe in pads, maybe two. They don't practice on Monday. Okay, they have team meetings on Monday. They don't practice on Tuesday. They give the day off. They do a walkthrough, a little bit of padded practice Wednesday, a little bit on Thursday, and then they do a walkthrough on Friday. So there's not enough time for the ones to take a breather and have the twos play with the starting quarterback. It's just not. Wild, it can't happen.
It's wild. All that wild said, the practice is that limited to me.
All that said, I absolutely love the Bears' first drive of the game.
Yeah,
they came out on fire. They moved Justin around. He wasn't stationary in the pocket. And of course, the last play of the game, where is he? Stationary in the pocket. Hutchinson gets around Darnell Wright to force the strip sack, and Darnell boots the ball out of the end zone for the safety. But I was so impressed with that first drive. And I mean, you're sitting there going, okay, guys, that's the Fields that we know we have and we've been waiting to see, and case closed. I don't want to hear any more unless Fields gets significantly injured in the last 6 games of the year, which puts his season of 24 in doubt. I don't want to hear another goddamn word about drafting a quarterback in the first round for the Bears. Period. End of story. What they need is they need to draft Harrison, because after Mooney and DJ Moore, they've got nothing at wideout, which we thought
they still have to decide on Darnell Mooney. Well, I shouldn't say they have to decide on him. They have to agree to a contract.
Well, and they do, and I'm sure that they will now, because they were the whole preseason. You were talking about this is going to be a make or break year for either Claypool or Darnell, and Darnell's played well. He has. He's not going to get $20 million a year, but he deserves. He's a good number 2, number 3 wide receiver, and he deserves a 2 or maybe a 2-year deal, if not a 3-year deal. But Marvin Harrison Jr. has got to be your focus in the draft, and then from there, a center.
Yeah. Yes. Please do something about the middle. Please.
You've got to get a stud center in that line to solidify, because they played well. Now, Braxton Jones got taken out of the game by the officials, and I don't know if he came back into the game. I forgot to look for that, but he got taken out. He got pointed. The eye in the sky saw some something, and they took him out of the game, and he was pissed when he hit the sideline. He jammed his helmet into the bench, and he was not a happy camper. But the Bears have all the momentum going. They're up 7. They have 2 big interceptions by the defense, and then you get that bad giveaway by Tyler Scott, and then the missed pick 6 by Jalen, and that literally right there, that is the difference in the ball game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We don't know how the game would have played out, obviously, but if you might be seeing a Bears defense starting to swarm the Bears, the Lions offense, because they're up by 3 scores.
Yeah.
Yeah,
those are the games I want. I want to be winning 17 points a game,
The Bears took the lead in the second half. The key play was that third down pass to DJ Moore, where he broke like 3 tackles to get that first down, and then they ended up kicking that field goal. That 2-minute drive at the end of the first half by Goff, and here again. And how many times have we talked about this, Rome? The Bears giving up a drive in the last 2 minutes of the half, and then it bit them in the back in other places at the end of the game with 2 touchdowns in the last 3 minutes of the game. Absolutely boggles my mind that this defense can play as well as they do. Now, they scored 29 points offensively, right? 21 of those points were either scored in the last 2 minutes of the first half or the last 3.5 minutes of the second half. Totally ridiculous to see that defense play so well the entire game, only to fall apart at the end of the half and at the end of the game.
Yeah, you can't tell if they're running out of steam. I mean, I'm not saying that they don't practice long enough, but maybe put them in pads every day. I don't know what the answer is, but you're right. It's the pressure situations that they tend to fold under. I mean, you look at third down conversions. Talk about pressure situations. Like a third down is, that's the weakest of pressure situations in my eyes. And they were what, 6 for 6 at one point in the game. Detroit was 6 for 6 at one point in the game. So they continue to give up third downs, and it doesn't seem to matter whether it's 2 yards or 18 yards. And we saw pretty good pressure today from the defensive line. Saw a couple of good holds on Dexter. Those didn't get called. But it's, I don't know. I'm trying to stay positive, and I feel like we're seeing progression. We just played one of our best games of the season, I feel like, on both sides of the ball against the top team in our division, and only lost in the last 2 minutes of the game. This team whole again makes a big difference versus how it's been the entire rest of the season. I mean, even in the Washington game, we were missing people on the offensive line. We were missing people from the defensive backfield, weren't we? Didn't we get Jackson back after the Washington game? I'm not sure, but
their entire starting defensive backfield was gone for the Washington game.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, it's so we've literally had injuries, like major injuries on this on both sides of the ball all season long, the entirety of this season, and at important positions too. So our left tackle being out for the vast majority of the season, our safeties both having injury issues all season long. Are losing our starting running back at one point in the season. We lost Foreman this game. At some point, he came out because his ankle was bothering him. So, every team has injuries. Some teams have more injuries than others at more, important positions. Like Cincinnati's going to be interesting for the rest of the season with their rookie. Isn't he a rookie at quarterback for Joe Burrow now that he's out? So it happens to every team, and we've overcome a lot of adversity just to look competitive in games, but we can't seem to overcome enough adversity in order to win them. I just saw a tweet that was it was like we won the turnover battle 4-1. We won the turnover battle 4-1, and we lost the game. And I don't. I mean, you can point blame everywhere, I guess, but like the second quarter with all the issues with Feeney, but the defense let the team down today too, giving up as many points as they did. If you keep them to 21 points or less, we should win a lot of games, Yeah,
we can sit here all day long and do what ifs, but like I said to start the show, until the Bears learn how to win, we're going to be on this hamster wheel for quite some time. Hopefully, in the next 6 weeks, we'll see some strides. They got to play Minnesota, then they have their bye week, then they get Detroit at home. Nothing would make me happier than to see them win back-to-back games against Minnesota and Detroit, because the games that we played against Minnesota and Detroit already were games that should have been won. Minnesota doesn't have Kirk Cousins, and Detroit is not going to have the home crowd. So it'll be interesting. We'll see what happens. Let's take a look at what's going on in the rest of the NFL. Because we normally start with that, and we didn't this time.
We were so dove right into it, huh?
We were so damn pissed about this game.
Yeah.
The Ravens pretty much destroyed the Bengals' chance of getting into the postseason this year. They won 34-20. They did lose their tight end with a broken leg, and he's gone for the rest of the season. But more importantly, Cincinnati lost Joe Burrow. He's out. He said that he felt something pop on that last touchdown throw, and it turned out that he did. A ligament broke loose on that throw, or it might have happened where it was weakened. He got tackled, and his right wrist kind of fell awkwardly on the ground, and that might have been a problem. And then when he went to throw the ball, that's when it let loose. But that was kind of disappointing, because I'm actually a big Joe Burrow fan. I like him a lot. Yeah, the Chargers dropped a game in Green Bay. They lost 23-20. The Buccaneers are trailing the 49ers let me get my glasses on so I can see what the hell I'm supposed to see here, huh?
That's fair.
It's already in the second quarter with 13 minutes to play, and then the 49ers are ahead 7-0. The Bills are ahead of the Jets 3-0. The Rams are trailing the Seahawks in Los Angeles 7-0. And then in the earlier games, the Cowboys had a little bit of a tough go with the Panthers before pick six kind of put that game out of reach, and they ended up coasting thereafter with a 33-10 victory over the Carolina Panthers. Without Deshaun Watson, believe it or not, the Cleveland Browns at home beating the Steelers 13-10. The Texans won again, beating the Cardinals, which we were hoping the Cardinals would win that game to give us a little breathing room for those top draft choices. The Titans got beat by Jacksonville. The Giants stunned the Washington Commanders, knocking them off 31-19. And the Dolphins literally squeaked by the Los Angeles. I do that every damn time. The Las
Yeah, I
Vegas
understand.
Raiders they were ahead 14-13 at halftime, scored 6 points in the third quarter. The fourth quarter went scoreless to make that a 7-point game. Tonight, the Minnesota Vikings at 6-4 face the 4-5 Denver Broncos. And then to finish off the slate, probably the most anticipated game of the year, at least I think so, with the Super Bowl rematch of the Eagles traveling to Kansas City to face the Chiefs on Monday Night Football. That's going to be a hell of a game.
Oh yeah, and Kansas City's still not doing well, right?
Well, Kansas City's has the best record in the AFC.
Jesus Christ! And then you've seen them play.
They haven't played their best game yet.
No, Mahomes doesn't look good at all, but somehow still getting it done.
You're absolutely right. In the AFC, the Kansas City Chiefs believe it or not, are 7-2. The Jaguars are 7-3. The Browns are 7-3. The Ravens are 8-3, and the Miami Dolphins are 7-3. So they're
Chicago
right
to the AFC.
Yeah,
Can we move Chicago to the AFC? We'd have 6-7 wins, right? Isn't that how that works? They just become better.
So
instantly,
right now the Eagles are 8-1. Before they play tomorrow night against Kansas City, if they drop that game, they fall into a tie for the NFC top seed in the playoffs with Detroit. With their win today, they moved to 8-2. The weakest division in all of football is the NFC South, with the Saints holding a first place edge with a 5-5 record. And the 49ers and the Seahawks right now are tied on top of the NFC West at 6-3. So that's where we stand after, what are we, week 11?
Yeah, so we're as bad as the Titans, basically. I guess the good news is the Panthers are worse than record-wise. The Panthers are worse than us. The Giants are as bad as we are, and somehow they won that game big over the Commanders today.
Yep. So
every other Sunday, any given Sunday,
the Bears moved up a slot with their own pick in the draft. They still have the top draft pick overall because they own the rights to Carolina's first round. And with their loss today, they moved back up to fourth. So right now they hold the first and fourth selection in the 2024 draft.
So that's the social media discussion of the week is going to be,
I'm sure,
who we draft first and fourth.
I'm sure.
So it changes in the next couple of weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I want to talk a little bit more about Justin Fields because he played like a man possessed. He didn't have all the opportunities, especially when they held the ball for 40 minutes. And, what did I say he had? I lost my piece of paper here.
18 carries for 104 yards on the ground. I mean, he was their best rusher today, but, I still feel like if Foreman could have played the whole game, I mean, he was getting yards, He pounds that ball. Herbert, I was surprised they didn't pound the ball with Herbert more. It seems like the game plan, though, is to take the ball out of another running back's hands and put it into Justin's instead of taking the ball, out of the passing game and giving it to Justin. We had 23 passing attempts today, which isn't, extraordinary, but it definitely is more reminiscent of what we did last season to win games. And that's, put the ball in Justin's hands and let him make a decision. What do you, can you get the ball to somebody? Can you get mobile and get the ball to somebody, or do you got to take off and get a couple of yards? And we saw that it paid off today. The between the running game and the passing game, we had a pretty solid game.
He did. After the Bears kicked that field goal, they held, which I was just so happy to see, they held Detroit to a punt on their first possession in the third quarter, which is a very rare occasion for the Bears on second half first drives. I think that might be only the first or second where a team didn't score on the first drive of the second half on them. And they came down, kicked a field goal. On the ensuing kickoff, Tyreek, again, with another key play, he had the interception in the first half. He hit the ball with his helmet on the kick returner, caused a fumble, and absolutely a dime from Justin Fields to DJ Moore to score that touchdown, and his only touchdown pass of the game. Absolutely a perfect, it was a perfect play. He climbed the pocket, set his feet, threw a dart, and hit DJ Moore right in stride for that touchdown.
39-yard bomb. It was beautiful because he missed it the first time, and he knew he missed it the first time. But when he sees DJ Moore one-on-one, I mean, you gotta take it. You gotta take that every single time. Eventually, you're gonna connect. So and he connected that time for a touchdown. It was big, and that's what we're looking to see too. We want to see him connect to DJ Moore. We want to see that Tyler Scott catch. You know what I mean? Like I was kind of hoping that was going to be Darnell Mooney on the deep ball late in the fourth quarter, but they went with Tyler Scott for whatever reason. Darnell Mooney needs to get involved in this offense a little more because he's a threat, and he's a shifty threat. I like him kind of as the Deebo Samuel model, kind of move him around a lot. We have that in some of our receivers. DJ Moore's the same way. Just get the ball in his hands and let him run.
The Bears don't have a second round pick now, if I'm not mistaken, because the Carolina second round pick isn't until the 25 draft, and they traded their own second round pick for Montez Sweat in 24. So they don't have a second round pick. So you might see if they do not select Marvin Harrison with their first draft choice, it's absolutely boggles my mind that they would not do that. Then their second pick in the first round, I might see them trade that back for a few spots down to move up to get maybe a 10-round pick and the 10th pick in the second round. And with one of those picks, they have to take one of the best centers in the draft. And there are several good ones. I don't have that list in front of me. My friend from Windy City Gridiron, Jacob Infante, he's their lead draft analyst, and he has put together some absolutely great mock drafts already for the Bears. And I need to talk with him, and maybe I'll have it for next week's show, who the top centers in the draft are that he would, if he were drafting, who he would hope the Bears would select.
Yeah, we gotta shore that up. We gotta shore that up badly. It's kind of frustrating to us fans for that's been kind of lacking on both sides of the ball. Like, we know we need a 3 technique in this defense, and we're betting on young, inexperienced talent versus finding a good 3 technique that we know we can trust to get pressure in the middle. And it's the same thing on the other side of the ball. And we're just gonna limp it with Lucas Patrick and Cody Whitehair through another season instead of shoring up both sides of the line. And all we can really hope for is that that he grabs a stud center out of the draft, and that it's not a project like a Dexter Senior is on the defensive side of the ball. I even thought about, like, what are the chances he pulls off some kind of a trade for a center across the league. I don't know what the contracts look like or who's out there. But But I mean, he's got the number 1 overall pick. And if he doesn't do Marvin Harrison Jr., then we got to see another DJ Moore. You know what I mean? Another DJ Moore style trade where they're an elite piece that you're adding to the team on the at the wide receiver position or at the on one of the pressure sides of the ball, either on the 3 technique or with a solid center. But you're absolutely right. The center of this line has been atrocious. The middle of the line has suffered all season with Nate Davis being out a lot, with Tevin Jenkins missing time, and then you have your anchor in Braxton Jones out for the vast majority of the season. And it's made it really difficult for this offensive line to strive. But
Tevin missed 4 games, the first 4 games of the season.
Right.
Braxton Jones missed 5 games after week 2, so he was out from week 3 to week 7. Nate Davis went down and he was out for 5 games. So he just came back this week. Khalil Herbert was gone for 5 weeks. He just came back this week. Justin Fields was out for 4.5 weeks. He just came back this week. This game, if you take away that Detroit's first touchdown, because they should have had a pick 6 to make it 14-0 instead of 7-7. And if you convert, instead of being so conservative offensively, you ended up with 4 field goals on the day. I had no problem with that last field goal after they had that 9-minute drive to make it a 2-score game. But those 3 other field goals now kind of gnaw at your butt because you didn't convert those into 7 points. So even if you take 2 of those 3 field goals, it's 8 extra points on the board. And what did they end up scoring? 26. Okay, so that 8 extra points is 32. And they don't get the safety at the end of the game. So now it's 32-29. And Detroit's got a kick and do an onside kick at the end of the game. So there you go, right there.
Yeah.
So
it's the plays you make, not the ones you miss, right?
That's right. The Bears do not play next Sunday, so that's 2 out of the last 3 weekends where we can enjoy family time, and then they have the bye week. So to say that I hate to say must win, because at this point in time, must win is ridiculous, because with a 3-8 record, there's no such thing as a must win.
Right.
I think Justin Fields silenced his critics for the most part today. I'm not saying he's a finished product by any stretch of the imagination. I have a guy that I write for Sports Mockery, and one of the other writers blamed that sack at the end of the game on Fields and not Darnell Wright. And he said he drifted into it. No, he went straight back. He took a step to his right to as he was going through his progressions to clear his vision. And Hutchinson was right there. He blew right past Darnell Wright at the most critical time of the entire ball game, forcing the strip sack. And then, of course, we talked about already, Darnell didn't get a penalty, although he should have, but it was a moot point because it would have been a safety anyway, regardless, right, for kicking the ball out of the end zone while he was in the end zone. So I guess that puts a wrap on it for this week. And is there anything else you want to add, Rome?
No, I think if you look at this game and you look at the mistakes that our rookies made, if they clean that up, this is an easy win. I mean, all in all, the two big plays. I mean, you could take away the Jalen Johnson, not picking the ball and whatever, but but you take away, but I mean, those three mistakes alone, the two by Tyler Scott and the one big play at the end of the game by Darnell Wright.
Yeah.
You,
and that's not to say that, Tyler Scott fumbled the ball, but the defender actually made a pretty decent play on it.
Right.
Right. But the throw at the end of the game that it should have hit him. I can't even think of it. It's right between the 1 and the 3, in stride for an easy touchdown. But consistent plays like that will get him in the same situation that Velus Jones is in the morning. On the roster. Velus Jones, is Tyler Scott inactive? Is
not
he
yet.
Scratch next week and bring
not yet.
He's back?
And all in all, I feel like he's played well this season anyway. I mean, he's had his share of mistakes, but this game was probably the worst example of a Tyler Scott game in my memory. But I feel like he's played well overall. Absolutely. And I mean, he's done more this season than Velus Jones did last season. So I'm good with it. I like Tyler Scott quite a bit.
So, well, let's see. So we have no show on Sunday, and we will be on the air about 10:15, give or take, Monday night after the Monday night game up in Minnesota. So for that, for my co-host, Rome the Bears fan, this is Mike Halatek saying, enjoy the Sunday night game and the Monday night game, and we will see you a week from Monday after the Bears face Minnesota.
Bear down.